I'm Mike Hobson. I'm 25 and I work at Blockbuster in Manchester. We basically got an email sent to the shop computer from our head office telling us that the company had gone into administration. But I actually found out from BBC News. Basically, we got this email sent down saying we'd gone into administration and that they would inform us whether our shop would be closing or not in the next few days. And then we were informed that our shop was going to be one of the ones that was closing, again by email. Apparently, letters were sent out to every member of staff that is going to be made redundant, but I didn't receive anything personally. They did set up a website to try and support staff that were looking for other jobs, and I think they set up that website literally like the day after it was announced which stores were closing. But I've been on it a few times, and a lot of it is jobs that are kind of sponsored from other companies, and it's not really been updated since it was set up. I've been on it a few times, and there's like a link on it saying new jobs, and there's never anything on there. There's a couple of warehouse jobs and like a job for a furniture company. I'm not sure which furniture company. We have been informed that they're going to give us 2 weeks notice as to when our shop is shut down, which they still aren't giving us. So up to now it's going to be at least 6 weeks from the point of being told we're shutting to actually shutting, but they still haven't given us any further information on that. One of my colleagues is losing her house as a result of it, because it was her full-time job and she hadn't been able to get a job anywhere else. My manager has lost his flat in town as well because it was his full-time job, and he's not been able to find anything else. And he's had it quite bad because he got made redundant from Game last year. So he got made redundant about 8 months ago from a management job at Game, and now he's been made redundant again from Blockbuster, so he's had a pretty rough time of it. The rest of the members of staff are basically in the same position as me, where they've either just finished uni, so they're struggling to find employment anyway as graduates, and the other members of staff, it's their kind of part-time job whilst they're at uni, so they've lost that kind of like extra income that they need to help them through uni. So the mood's everyone's pretty annoyed. More than anything, quite annoyed at the attitude of Blockbuster. They've not necessarily given us any support apart from this website and the help plan that they've set up. There's no kind of personal support, really, which we might get from our manager, but our manager's in the same position as us anyway. I've seen the district manager once in the last 4 weeks since we were told we were shutting down, and the email communications that we're getting, they just keep telling us to try and sell as much stuff as we can and try and make more money for them, to try and save them. And even if we do save them, we're still out of a job anyway, so there's no incentive whatsoever for us to try and help them out at all. A lot of staff from other stores that are shutting down have been suspended for taking stock, like thieving stock, because people just they don't care. Now they've not been offered anything, no kind of redundancy, hardly any support for afterwards. and they're out of a job, so they're just taking what they can while they can. Luckily, our store that hasn't happened. There hasn't been any theft of any stock or anything like that. But I do know it has happened in other shops, which I think just kind of shows the mood of a lot of staff that are being laid off. They're not bothered anymore. It is quite depressing to walk down your local high street and see either a load of disused space, especially like just not being used for anything. Even I know my hometown in St Helens, which has had it quite difficult for a few years since the recession started. There's like cash for gold shops popping up everywhere and cash converter stores everywhere. Like there's a lot more of things like that rather than shops that are actually selling things. I think one of the biggest problems is rent. Like rent in city centres and town centres is so high. So because all these big companies are going bust and losing these places, and the rent's still so high, so new small growing businesses can't afford to pay the high rates and now moving into them. Personally, I try and be quite positive about it and hope that businesses will be able to change so that they can stay on the high street and hopefully not make as many enemies as they have. Like, for example, like Starbucks didn't pay any corporate tax for however long. Blockbuster did exactly the same. Like, I think in the last 15 years Blockbuster only paid like £250,000 in corporate tax, which is shocking compared to how much money they've made. And because of stuff like that, I find it very difficult to feel sorry for them. So even though the high street is looking a bit drab, if there's these big companies going bust and going out of business, but they've avoided paying tax and haven't contributed to the country anyway, it kind of makes me not as bothered.
My name's Carl. I'm a former employee of JJB Sports. We wasn't bothered anymore. We had our hours cut so much. People were working 4 hours a day. It just wasn't enough. No one cares for 4 hours a day for a job. No one wants for 4 hours a day. So we didn't. No one was bothered about it. Everyone was looking for new jobs anyway, trying to get themselves sorted. The morale was good, but the productivity, we just didn't. It wasn't as we could have been. We could have done more, I suppose, but we didn't want to because we knew it was going to happen. They sent us like a pack of how to do stuff, like how to write your CV, how to come across an interview, how to do this, how to do that. But it was all just shoved together, and it wasn't really anything significant. It wasn't. There was no meaning behind it. It was just, there's your pack, there's your money, right? Like, after that stuff, we're gone. The co-owners were terrible and all. We didn't really get anything from them. They just got rid of us and that were it. So I had to take out an overdraft and I had to, help get myself back. I mean, luckily I was only out of employment for about a month until I found a new job. But through that month, I couldn't do the things I enjoyed. I couldn't be young. I couldn't do anything. There was a constant strain of, there's no income. Anything that I did, I thought there's no income coming in to the next month or the next week. So I had to cut back a lot and, try and figure out. I had to think about my money a lot more, which is what I never really experienced before, because I always knew that there'd be something coming in at the end of the month. Working since I was 16 in High Street, it's gutting really, because you can go online, but there's no experience about going shopping. When you go shopping with your mates or your family, it's it's hard to see, like, there's so many little shops, you know, so little choice about everything. It's not really a nice thing to see, because when you see a shop that's been shut down for whatever it is, you know, that's another 60 jobs gone, or there's another 50 jobs gone, you know. People are struggling, and there's no way they can get around it. It's gutting, really. Especially from someone who's been in retail for so long, you know, see it like that, it's not good.